You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we'll be doing lots of politics and public policy. You may have noticed that Jeff Berkowitz was talking to himself before as we were waiting for the show to get started. I do that a lot, folks. You know, some people might lock me up. But instead, we're going to be speaking here this evening with Reverend Anthony Williams. He is running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. That's to replace Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., who, I guess for legal reasons, for emotional issues, for reasons, for psychological reasons, for who knows what, he resigned. He gave up his seat, and there's a special election scheduled now to replace Congressman Jesse Jackson, and there's a Democratic primary and a Republican primary, and now those primaries are on February 26th. We're taping this show on January 13th, so what is that? It's about 40 days or so left.
Correct.
And you know, in this election, there are some people who are better known than others, right? And so we have a cheat sheet. Is there like 17 or so people running in the Democratic primary, right?
I think it's about 21.
21, okay,
Yes, sir.
Maybe even more, okay. So that's a lot of folks. There's some people who are well known. Robin Kelly's somewhat well known. Do you know Robin?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and she's well known because she was a state rep and then she ran for treasurer, right?
She worked for Genovius, former treasurer Genovius.
She worked for him and then she ran to replace him, didn't he, when he ran for the U.S. Senate?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
and she lost that race.
Correct.
But she got well known. She ran statewide. She was a state rep. She's got a base. She said she raised $200,000, right? I think she said she raised $200,000. Is that right?
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what you're hearing. Okay, so Robin's known for that. She's a big money person. Robin, we'd like to have you come on the show so you can tell people whether you have any thoughts on specific issues and whether you can answer any questions. Because we don't know, Robin, because we invited you often when you were running for treasurer, but you didn't have time, even though that was a statewide race. We air in Chicago, we air in Rockford, we air in Aurora. Why do you suppose Robin Kelly didn't come on the show then?
Well, I think some of the so-called status quo candidates suffer from the issue of entitlement disorder.
They think they're entitled, is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
That's
Robin's entitled to be a congresswoman because she worked for the treasurer, she ran for treasurer, she was a state rep. The next step, Robin, in your career should be congresswoman from the 2nd Congressional District. Is that what you're saying she thinks?
That's what she thinks.
What do you think?
There's no body of work from anybody that's running for United States Congress except myself. And let me be very humble. If people look at my website, voteanthonywwilliams.com.
I just want to make sure we're getting his voice because it's a little bit low.
Yeah.
You may want to speak up a little. Give me a little
If-
high
if-
energy here.
if-
There's a high energy show here, Reverend.
If people look at my website, Jeff, they will see a body of work dealing with the cutting edge issues, dealing with foreclosures, dealing with the pension issue, which is key, dealing with the violence, which is pandemic, not only in the 2nd Congressional District, but in our nation, but dealing with the cutting edge issues. And this is not the first time I've ran. See, I ran for Congress when it was unpopular.
2004?
That's 7 times. This will be the 7th time.
You've run 6 times previously.
Six
In the
times.
Democratic primary always?
Well, what I did, I used the art of citizenship, and I used various parties. Whatever it took to be able to go into the general election.
Whatever it took.
Whatever it took. Whatever
Well,
it took.
So sometimes you ran in the Democratic primary?
I ran twice in the Democratic Party in primary in 202 and 204.
That's what I thought. I saw that.
Libertarian Party. Got slated by the Republican Party.
Really?
Won a primary in the Green Party.
Okay. So are you Green, or are you Republican, or are you Libertarian, or are you a Democrat? What are you?
I think I'm a reflection of what it means to be an American citizen. Because at the end of the day, it's understanding that when you look at the Constitution, when you look at the Bill of Rights, it speaks of one thing clearly to me. It speaks beyond party, but it speaks about the importance of citizenship. And one of the great tragedies that's happening in America is that the average citizen does not understand the power of their citizenship and that your vote does matter and you can make the difference. This is a unique moment in the 2nd Congressional District and in American history where people can make the choice without being pressured by a party.
Really? So you think you've got, I mean, I'm going to be candid with you, Reverend. You and I have never met, right?
Never met.
One thing that's very impressive about you is that you sent me a note. You found out I did a TV show and you asked if you could be on it. I told you I got a slot and you got back to me. Your assistant, Melina, did right away.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In a heartbeat, you said yes.
Yes, sir.
Just as an example, though, we got Debbie Halverson. You know, people have heard of Debbie because she used to be the congresswoman that covered portion of this district, and she's raised a lot of money. We tried to get her on when she was running last time. She ran in the primary, didn't she, against Jesse Jackson?
Correct.
Lost. Couldn't get her. And now she says, her aide says she'd like to do it, but it's just too far to come all the way up to Skokie. Well, we are in Chicago, which is a good part of that district, right?
Yes, sir.
And she came all the way up to 225 West Washington, which is Fox. They didn't give her 28 minutes. You're getting 28 minutes. So if you can go all the way up from like Stager to 225 West Washington in Chicago, it's a hop, skip, and a jump, 15 minutes out to Skokie, right? Like, did it take like 3 hours? Did you have to get up last night and start traveling? Did you have to form a cavalcade? Or
I had no problem getting here.
Amazing.
I left church to come here.
Wow, you did that. And so Halverson wants to be a congresswoman. We're going to pay her $200,000. She's going to deal with all sorts of complicated issues. But it's too complicated to get from, does she live in Stager?
She lives in Crete.
Crete. So she's got to come from Crete to Skokie. How long would you think that would take?
It'd take you 25 minutes or less on a good day.
Good day. And now she said there are all these forums. Like, so many forums. You can't get up there on the weekend. There's so many forums. You have so many. Oh, and there's so many black churches to. Is she black? She's not black, is she? But she's got to go to the black churches.
She
right?
may have a look. Why
doesn't she go to the white churches? I mean, what's wrong with? I mean, go to all churches, right? Go to temples, go to mosques. Okay? But it's always these white politicians that got to go to the black churches. Like, I mean, did Debbie used to go to a black church?
I don't know.
So, folks, this is what we're going to do to you folks who don't come here. You're going to bee us around. We're going to throw it in your face, okay? Debbie, if you come here, we'll be fair as fair can be. But other than that, you're just going to throw a lot of stuff at you, okay? And we're going to be fair to everybody who doesn't show up, okay? Because I've had it. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, really. Just, you know? Okay, so that's Debbie Halverson. You know, I don't know. Does she really want to do something about violence? Or is she like for all the gun control laws they have or something? You know, I don't know, okay? So, so far we've covered Kelly, and we've covered Debbie Halverson, and then there's Napoleon Harris. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll get to Reverend. Don't worry, we're not going to spend a whole show on these, but I want to give people some context, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, I've never met Napoleon Harris, and he may be a great guy, but it seems a little bit less than humble when he just got elected to the state senate, and about a week before, he decides he's running for Congress. So he had like 0 experience in the state senate, okay? He's 0 times serving the people who just elected him, and now he wants to take another position. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, shouldn't you spend a little time in the position you just got elected to?
But once again, we have this issue of entitlement disorder.
Oh, so he's entitled to run for Congress because he's the new state senator, and he was an ex-football player, right?
Correct.
Now,
but no body of work.
But what? Nobody.
Nobody.
He hasn't done work in the community.
No body of work.
You've done work in the community.
Correct.
So what have you done in the community to show your sort of bona fides?
Well, I mean, the situation with a gentleman by the name of a young athlete by the name of Rocky Clark, who happened to be paralyzed in 2000, an Eisenhower football school player.
High school player.
And it was our effort.
Ran into a pole or something like that?
No, he had an
accident. He got hit.
Out
on the field.
Yeah, his insurance expired.
Okay, yeah.
And when his mother reached out to me, it was our efforts that helped to extend his life an additional 2 years because the state was going to take his medical card from him also too.
And you made sure that didn't happen?
We had an impact on public policy. I've always had a history of an impact on public policy.
Now, this would have been right up. This would have been right up Napoleon's alley because he was a pro football player, right?
Correct.
And so, what was the gentleman's name who was hurt?
Rocky Clark.
Rocky Clark.
Rocky Clark.
Rocky Clark.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing high school football.
Right.
And he got paralyzed, right?
He got paralyzed.
He was hit, right?
Correct.
He was what? What position was he playing? Do you know?
Running back.
He was a running back. So he got tackled. Okay.
Correct.
Now, what Napoleon, I think, was a linebacker. He was a guy who tackles, right?
Correct.
So he would understand this. So instead of being tackled, Napoleon, okay, you're trying to tackle people. Now, this guy was being tackled.
Correct.
And he got paralyzed.
Correct.
And so what did Napoleon Harris do when he heard about that? He stopped. He went. He would probably was a big name. He might have been a football player at that time. He could have raised money like nothing, right?
I mean,
he could have called up somebody in the state and they would respond to him because, like, who are you? With all due respect, you're Reverend Williams. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Napoleon Harris, he's a ball player. Everybody stops. Like, if Berkowitz calls Rahm Emanuel and say, like, why did you guys take me off the media list? I was doing fine, Rahm, you were here. They say, who the hell are you? They don't know you. But if I were a football player called Rom, Rom would say, come on over, Jeff, and have dinner, right? Okay? Right? This is the way the world works. I understand, okay? So Napoleon could have used it, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything for Mr. Clark, did he?
I have no knowledge.
You have no knowledge.
I have no knowledge.
And maybe Napoleon Harris would want to come on and say, Jeff, you got it wrong. I did lots of things for Mr. Clark. So come on and tell us. Come on. What else have you done for the community?
Well, I want to point out the fact that our library in our town almost closed.
The library closed.
The library
in Dalton?
no, in Robbins, Illinois.
Robbins, that's
Robbins,
where you,
Illinois.
So you live.
That's where I pastor.
You're a pastor in Robbins.
That's pastor. And
what's the name of your church there?
Good Shepherd Lutheran Church.
Okay, you're a Lutheran.
I'm a Lutheran pastor.
You went to Lutheran School of Theology?
Correct.
That's out in Hyde Park, right?
Correct.
But you were ordained way before.
Yes, sir.
You've been ordained, what, 34 years?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so what happened? They were going to close the library in Robbins?
The library almost closed. It was the efforts of our church, and we helped in the public. As a matter of fact, the Skokie Library played a magnificent part in this process too.
To help keep it open.
To help keep it open, and
we're taping here in Skokie, so you're going to drop by after and say hello to your friends in Skokie Library.
Right, and we.
Which, by the way, is a great library. A little plug for the Skokie Library over there in Oakton. It's a fantastic library.
It is.
Everybody in Skokie ought to be going there 3 times a week. Okay?
And the fantastic people in the Skokie Library. We had a public rallying. We raised close to $70,000 in 4 months, which is a tremendous amount. To keep the library open.
Pay for the personnel to keep it open?
To keep the library open. And then
you kept it open?
We kept it open. And then Dwayne Wade, the former the current NBA basketball star from the Miami Heat, he donated $25,000. He's from Robbins, Illinois. Right. And all that's on my website.
And where's that website?
VoteAnthonyWWilliams.com.
Okay, they can find out all that information.
You will see well thought out ideas. You will see work, not just conversation.
All right. So Toy Hutchinson, she's running, right?
Correct.
It's Toy. People may not know that name. T-O-I, right? Toy Hutchinson.
I think
that's my understanding.
I think that's how you spell it.
Toy. She's a state senator, right?
State senator.
Some people have told me Toy's the candidate of Washington. We didn't know. We thought the 2nd Congressional District was mostly Chicago and then the far south side, right?
Correct.
And then into other areas. Does it cover Washington, D.C.?
No, it doesn't.
Because they say she's the candidate of Washington. I'm confused. How could she be the candidate of somebody who's not even in her district, right? What does that mean? You know what that means?
The seat belongs to the people.
Oh, I thought they think, so the Washington people who've got the money to invest have said to Toy, you're our babe, okay? If I can get away with saying that, you're our babe. Right? They're putting their chips on Toy, right?
I guess they have.
Now, why would they do that? Why would they have faith in Toy as opposed to you, Reverend Williams?
Well, the bottom line.
I mean, you've been doing all this stuff. You helped Rocky Clark. You helped the library. Okay, involved in the airport. You don't think the airport's so good for this? You've been doing all sorts of stuff. Toy, what has Toy done? She's a state senator. She's done anything?
Once again, we're dealing with this issue of entitlement disorder.
She's entitled. Oh, I got it. She's a state senator. Because Toy, we'd be totally fair if you want to come on this show. Okay, we've tried to get you on there, but I know it's busy because you've been solving the pension crisis. Has she solved the pension crisis for the state of Illinois?
She's ducking it.
She's ducking it. Does she want to raise the retirement age for the people in the state of Illinois? Does she want to do that?
I hope she does not want to do that.
You hope, but you don't know. She hasn't said.
I don't know.
Does she want to increase the employee contribution?
I doubt it.
Does she want to freeze the COLA, the cost of living adjustment?
I doubt it.
Does she want to do anything that would make the pensions? Does she think she wants to raise taxes even more? Some of the unions say there's no problem, just raise taxes more and then you can give us all the things that are due.
Well, there's no response from her either. Because
she hasn't, okay. But she's entitled.
That's an entitlement disorder.
There's no need to give their positions, no need to go on public affairs, no need to do anything, just you're entitled. So the problem is now, so if I get this right, Robin Kelly's entitled, Napoleon Harris is entitled, Toy Hutchinson's entitled. Alderman Beal, is he entitled too?
Same mentality.
So I get these shots of Anthony Beal, okay, these camera shots. I'm trying to think, why wouldn't he come out here? But Larry Adelson there, he can get a nice shot. He's our camera operator. He's our floor director. He could get a good shot. Alderman Beal, come on. Larry, his bona fides are strong. Larry could get a nice shot. You don't have to send me any camera shots. We'd get you right here. And then we'd find out what Alderman Beal's going to do. Well, he's been an alderman for like a third of his life, hasn't he?
He has only been there 14 years, 12 years,
Yeah,
14, something like that.
He gets his 14-year pin, and then his big pension.
Right.
Now, what has Alderman Beal done for the people in the city of Chicago as an alderman?
He prides himself on bringing big box to the community. Walmart.
Bringing the bacon home.
No, big box.
Big bucks.
Big box stores, the Walmart.
Oh, big box stores. Oh, I thought it was big bucks. Box stores.
Box stores.
So he's brought Walmart there so people can shop. Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
No, that's debatable.
You don't think so? Because they can get lower prices at Walmart.
No, that's debatable because of Walmart's history in terms of dealing with the public. I have problems with Walmart because of how they have dealt with the public and how they have treated their employers. And so I have real serious problems with a Walmart.
You watch Tavis Smiley?
In terms of that
You watch Tavis Smiley?
No, I don't watch Tavis Smiley.
Do you know Tavis is? He's on PBS.
I'm very clear of Tavis Smiley.
According to PBS, Tavis is Mr. Black Eye.
Yeah.
Because he's got his own show on this, he's got his own show on that. So I'm thinking PBS must have it right. They must know who the representative should be for the black community, and it's Tavis Smiley, right? Nothing against Tavis, I'm just wondering, this guy just gets so much. And he does that nice show, he's got the entertainer there, and then he's got politicians he likes, and he kisses them, and if he doesn't like them, he doesn't kiss them. That's fair and balanced, huh? Right?
I doubt
I mean, you don't mind that a guy who's supposed to be asking tough questions kisses some politicians?
Jeff, the problem is which way will America go?
Okay, but I was just want to say, finish that story about Tavis. Tavis once was critical of Walmart, and then lo and behold, Walmart became a sponsor, an underwriter of Tavis, and then he doesn't seem so critical anymore. You see the connection? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Tavis is not a politician, but he does know how to get underwriting, and then he interviews the head of Walmart. Now, there's no conflict between getting Tavis to be underwritten by Walmart and then saying you can ask tough questions, but then they're not tough, right?
Correct.
You understand how this game is played?
I understand.
So if you want to go to Washington, why don't you go out, go to Walmart and say, look, I'll be nice to you. You give me some big contribution. I'm not going to question you on anything, right? Mm-hmm. And just do that with a variety of people. Go to the teachers union and say, I'll be nice to you. Just give me some money. And go to you said pensions, maybe you favor expanding the pensions for state employees. I'll be nice to you, give me money. Now, I'm just helping you. Isn't that the way to get elected here? Because you're not entitled. You're not entitled, Reverend Williams. You've done all these things, but I think they would say, what offices have you held? Have you held any public office before?
I've impacted public policy. No, I haven't.
No, but wouldn't Debbie Halverson say, if you want to be entitled, Robin Kelly would say, if you want to be entitled, Napoleon Harris would say, if you want to be entitled, Toy Hutchinson would say, if you want to be entitled, Alderman Beal would say, if you want to be entitled, you got to hold these other offices. You can't just run for Congress. Do you think the Constitution of the United States allows you to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've looked at the Constitution.
We the people.
We the people?
We the people.
You're the people?
We're the people.
Okay, you represent the people.
That's right. Always have.
And so what are you going to do about the black rate of unemployment or the white rate of unemployment for that matter in the second congressional?
In the second congressional district.
Because the unemployment rates are pretty high.
I want to talk, it gets very serious, very focused. Right. And in the second congressional district, Peatone could be the green job capital of the world. I mean of the world.
Green jobs.
Green jobs. Gary Chicago Airport is your third airport. Indiana is not India. We invest in that airport. They received millions and millions of dollars just recently for overhaul. Its runways, it has more capacity than Midway. It's bigger than Midway, environmental friendly, and it would create jobs for people not only in Gary, Indiana, but also in Illinois, from the south side of Chicago.
So you guys are just a hop, skip, and a jump over to Gary.
But the issue is that the former congressman didn't want this relationship to take place because of the fact that Peatone has been nothing more than a white elephant. It will never happen. If you built it, it would take 50 years for full capacity.
The airlines didn't want to go there. You'd point that out, right?
They don't want to go there. Plus, you would have the issue of airspace. You just can't take a plane and fly it in the air.
And Rahm doesn't want to build up because he wants to keep O'Hare and Midway. So
correct.
So you have to fight Rahm. You got to fight these other folks. And so Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. spent, what, 17 years trying to build up Peatone?
Correct.
And he got nothing.
Correct.
In the Yiddish words, he got bupkis.
Yeah.
Right? Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
So you're saying go to Gary, develop Gary, get jobs as a result of that?
Correct.
Okay.
Peatone being in green job, plus entrepreneurship. I want to be strong on that. The federal government cannot bail us out and create jobs. You've got to be creative. You've got to be in partnership.
You're a believer in the private sector.
Correct. But to say entrepreneurship is key. Very key in this
So you
whole
believe
process.
in this guy, Milton Friedman? You ever heard of him? You went to him in Chicago?
I've heard of him.
Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom. You heard of that book?
Yeah, that's some things I agree with, some things
Have you
I
read this
don't
book
agree
before?
with. I've had it a long time ago.
A long time ago.
A long
Do you
time
need
ago.
another copy so you can read
I'd
it
like
right
to get.
now?
I'd like to get another copy.
You going to read it? You promise?
I promise you I'll
You
read
going
it.
to come back and tell us about
Yes,
it?
sir. I'm gonna read it.
All right.
From cover to cover.
Because if Debbie Halverson doesn't come here and Napoleon Harris doesn't come here and those others who are entitled, Roden Williams, you're going to come back, right?
Yes, sir.
Because we're going to take some shots.
Yes, sir.
We're not taking shots yet. We're just sort of inviting you folks here. But we're going to take some shots, okay? Because it's our job as journalists. When people come here from the left, we ask questions from the right. When they come here from the right, we ask questions from the left. We just question, question, question. That's what journalism is supposed to be about, right?
Correct.
Don't take sides. Question, 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 right?
Now you got to use the power of your fourth estate.
All right. So, education, that's an issue?
Very key issue.
I mean, the schools in the 2nd Congressional District, a lot of them are problems. I was saying in Chicago, some of your constituents go to Chicago public schools, right?
Right, right.
I was saying in 4th grade, talking on a previous show, in 4th grade, 20% of the black kids in the Chicago public schools who are in 4th grade read at grade level. That means 80% don't. When I say that, it means they read at the 3rd grade level, the 2nd grade level, the 1st grade level, kindergarten level, where they're not reading where they should be. 20% are and 80% aren't. That's authoritative. You know, we've asked the superintendent to give us an interview. We said, we'll promise we'll come down there. She doesn't have to come here. We'll go to her. And we're still waiting, okay, for the new superintendent of Chicago Public Schools to say, here's a day. I'm sure Becky Carroll, my good friend Becky Carroll, is going to hear this and she's going to get right on the phone. She said after the first of the year, they'd set a date. So Becky, it's January 13th. It's after the first of the year, right?
Correct.
See, we're just on a roll here today. We're just going after folks. You know what? I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yes,
I love
sir.
that saying, right?
I love it.
You want to use that?
I love it.
I give it to you. Okay?
I love it.
You'd be mad as hell,
It's
too.
been copyrighted. I think, is that network?
It's not copyright. You cannot copyright ideas. It's a great idea. Okay. All right, so what are we going to do about the Chicago Public Schools and the other schools in your district? Some people would say, well, that's a state issue. It's not a federal issue. Can you do anything?
You can do something in terms of...
What have you done so far? Have you done anything so far?
Well, you know, my wife is works... hey, well, let me use a big example. We filed a lawsuit against School District 205. My son was attending a private school, Bishop Nolan, Indiana, in another state. Indiana's not far from where I live at.
Right.
He wanted to go to public school. We allowed him the option. He went to Thornridge High School. He came home with a note one day. They were going to close the school down. We filed a lawsuit. My wife and I led the fight along with other concerned parents. We kept the school open. Thornridge, it would have devastated the town of Dalton. It would have devastated the taxpayers. And so I began to understand then what's happened. What's happened, politicians need to stay out of education and let the educators run education. That the problem is that the politicians deal with education as though they're the experts. A lot of our educators can't do the work because they have the interference of the politicians.
I don't know.
I got a serious problem. You know, it's just like me trying to interfere with a heart surgeon and tell them that you're operating wrong. You know, as an elected official,
you want to empower the people, right?
You want to empower the people.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
So why not have the state, and by that the government, finance the education, but have whoever wants to provide it, provide it. It could be a public school, it could be a private school. Because you're saying you want to make sure low-income people have enough funds to go to school. I understand that.
Correct.
So in Chicago, we spend $15,000 per kid per year. But still, 20% is not a good rate, okay? 20% of the kids reading at grade level. So we want to empower those parents. Let's give them the $15,000. If they want to stay in the Chicago public school, they can. If they want to leave, they can take it and go to their private school of their choice. Why not allow them to do that? That's all school voucher is. You want to sign up for that program today?
I have no problems with a person having that type of option as it relates to their child's education.
Okay.
Now I do not castigate against the voucher system, but at the same time, I'm a strong supporter of public education. But
no,
if
but
a
public
person,
education in the sense that let the government pay for it.
Right.
People still have the $15,000.
Right.
It's just that you get to choose if you want to spend that at a public school or at a private school. That could be fair, right?
I mean, what could be fair, but at the same time, you know, I'm still pro public school.
Well, no, but you'll allow that person to leave the public school with the money and go to the private school of their choice.
Well,
did I get that right? Will you allow that?
Well, I have no. If
that
can be an option. Yes, that's an option.
Okay, that's an option.
I'm flexible.
Okay.
I'm flexible.
All right. What about free trade? You think we should have free trade?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
because
sir.
free trade promotes jobs. People can export to other countries, and then they can, by doing exports, they can develop their business, right?
Right.
So you support free trade.
Right.
Okay. Are we doing the right thing to get out of Iraq? We're now pretty much out of Iraq. Was that the right thing?
We need to withdraw, but I don't know all the intricacies and the intangible things that are taking place.
Well, do you support Barack Obama has kind of followed the Bush, actually Bush set it up to get the troops out of Iraq, and I think by the end of 2014, maybe sooner, all of our combat troops, maybe they're already out of Iraq. Maybe all of our military is going to be out of Iraq. You're okay?
We cannot continue to police the world.
Same thing with Afghanistan, because we went there to make sure Afghanistan would not support training camps to do what they did, what the Taliban did on September 11th, come attack the United States. Was it right to go into Afghanistan, knock out those training camps, try to encourage a government that would be friendlier to the United States and not allow those terrorist training camps to exist? Was that the right policy in Afghanistan?
I think it was.
Okay. What about, are we doing the right thing with the Arab Spring? You know, there are countries across the globe, Arabs that have been under dictatorships. They now want to have a taste of freedom. Should the United States help? Like in Syria. There are rebels who want to be free, and there's a terrible dictatorship trying to suppress those people. Should the United States support those rebels who want freedom, want democracy? Should we?
I think that we need to be very wise once again in gathering our intelligence. There's certain information that I'm not privy to as a citizen.
You better get privy if you're going to be voting as a congressman.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Okay, so we're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I very much want to thank our guest, Reverend Anthony Williams, for coming here.
Thank you for your kindness.
Thank you for coming here. I hope we've given people a glimpse and, you know, to get an idea.
Look at that website, voteanthonywilliams.com, and people will see I've dealt with the issues.
Well, let me ask you, Reverend, where do you stand on abortion? Should abortion be illegal?
I believe, personally speaking, I believe in equal protection of the law on all sides, but I am pro-life.
Pro-life. So you mean you would, right now, a woman can get an abortion virtually any time, anywhere in Illinois. Would you say she should not be allowed to get an abortion?
She has that choice, but I'm pro-life.
But you don't want to say by law she shouldn't have that choice. You let her make the choice.
Let her make a choice.
Okay. What about same-sex marriage? Should people of the same sex be allowed to marry?
I believe in equal protection of the law. Basically, I'm against it.
But you would allow the state of Illinois to issue a license to people of the same sex to get married?
I believe in equal protection of the law.
Does that mean yes? You would allow them to?
No. Whatever the law, you have to, as an elected official, you have to enforce the law.
Well, and in Congress, would you try to encourage Congress not to do anything that would prevent people of the same sex from marriage?
No, I wouldn't interfere with that.
You wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't encourage them. You wouldn't discourage. You
correct.
Say that's
correct.
a matter for the states to decide.
Correct.
Okay. Concealed carry. We're going to have to. Seventh Circuit says you cannot ban concealed carry in the state of Illinois. We have to now draft legislation. The legislators do. That will say people can carry a concealed gun. Do you agree with that? Is that good policy?
No, it's not good policy.
Okay, you're against concealed carry.
I'm against concealed carry.
So if somebody wants to come in and shoot 28 kids, and they did in Connecticut, that was a gun-free zone. So if the law was being followed there, no teachers would have any guns. They wouldn't be able to stop. You think that was a good idea?
No.
The teachers tried to stop the guy from shooting with their hands.
We need to understand that violence is pandemic in America, and we won't look at it. We need to have congressional hearings.